Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's the author of the book Raising Justice Lesson Learned Through Motherhood. No other than Miss Doris Jackson-Shazier.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Doris, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, I will. Hey everyone, my name is Doris Jackson-Shazier. I am the author of Raising Justice. I am also a leadership coach and management consultant, and I focus in on teaching leaders how to build high accountability and high morale in their workplace and at home.
Miss Doris Jackson Fraser, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. What does raising justice mean in the context of motherhood?
So, so raising justice, the meaning is twofold. Number one, my daughter, my first child, her name is Justice, so it's literal. It's the story of me and the journey of me raising my firstborn child, whose name is Justice. The second meaning for raising justice is really more like a movement. And so, in the book, um, I challenged the mindset of being a parent or parenting in a way that you wasn't necessarily parented. So how do we raise children differently than the way that we were raised or what we experienced in our childhood? So I like to refer to raising justice as those moments where you are kind of looking inward and you are deciding that maybe I'm not going to do what was done to me and I'm going to do it in a different way. And that's ways that other people can raise justice.
Certainly. So, how does the book explore the connection between motherhood and justice?
So the book explores the connection between mother and daughter relationships. So the book begins with me as an overachiever. I was the first person to go to college in my family, the first to graduate high school without honestly without a child. I come from five generations of really teen parents. And so I was the first to kind of graduate high school, make it into college, and I find myself 19 and pregnant my sophomore year. And I decided to continue on with this pregnancy and raise my daughter to be a high performing young lady. So she graduated college at 19 years old. And so in the book, I explored the different moments throughout our relationship that I felt was important. So, number one, creating a high performing child, but also to create a good mother daughter bond. And so, as you're reading the book, you really get to hear these different stories of how I built a good connection with my daughter through being very conscientious of how I parented.
Congratulations, Miss Doris. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. So, what are the some key lessons that you learned through parenting?
Oh, um, you learn so much through being a parent. I tell people that my first leadership position probably was motherhood. So I believe that you learn how to be a leader. You learn that you lead by what you do sometimes and not just what you say because your kids are watching. So it teaches you how, parenthood teaches you how to role model. You also learn forgiveness of others and forgiveness of self. But man, I can go on and on about the lessons, but I think one of the biggest ones that you really learn is you learn leadership.
Yes. So, let's talk about parenting and personal growth. How does the book define justice in the context of parenting?
So again, I think what it does is it really takes it takes it takes a page out of the book of conscious parenting. And so it's how do we parent in a way that it's not punitive, that it's not all about correction, but it's more so about what can I teach my child in this moment? How can I grow them long term in the moment? So not just, oh, I'm going to pop your hand because it's hot, but how do I teach you the impact of touching that and what that could do? And so I think that in the spirit of parenting, it's a lot more conscious parenting and really thinking long term about my actions today. How does that affect my relationship with my child later?
So, Miss Doris, what role does self awareness play in being a just and compassionate parent?
Ooh, I think self awareness is everything.
Yes,
I think that self awareness leads to social awareness and then how you manage relationships. And so when you are aware of the things that you're good at or the things that you're not so good at or what your triggers are and the things that naturally upset you, you're able to navigate parenting in a different way. Sometimes as parents, our surface emotion can be anger, but with deep down inside, we're feeling hurt or fear. So if your child runs near the street, you may go and snatch them up, like, oh my God, I can't believe you did it. Don't do that anymore. And it looks like anger, but inside it was fear. And I think having
yes,
that awareness to not, I'm not going to respond in anger because I'm really feeling fear. Let me sit them down and say, hey, it scared me when you went that close to the road because I was afraid something would happen to you rather than punishing the child for going near the road. So I think we communicate differently when we're self aware.
certainly. So, how can parent balance discipline with empathy and fairness?
I think by listening. I think if we approach a situation seeking to understand and listening, this is where we draw a different connection with our children. So when they do something, not necessarily jumping to punishing them for doing it, but how do you seek to understand the thought process that led them there? And then you can have a conversation and guide them in a way that is more likely to prevent them from doing it again because you understand what thought process got them there.
Certainly. Listen, people, listen.
Listen, seek to
S-
understand, ask questions, be curious. Be curious about what happened.
Be fair. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you face in motherhood, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think again, going into motherhood at 19 was a challenge in itself. And then wanting to establish a different type of mother daughter relationship than I had with my own mother or grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother. Was also a challenge because you're trying to create something that you haven't seen or experienced. And so I think that probably was one of the biggest challenges. So I leaned into other resources. I'm an avid reader. Um, Again, I think that I've learned how to suspend judgment. So teaching myself enough discipline to not respond almost instinctively, but to think about what I'm doing before I do it. And I think being able, those two things alone, exposing myself to a different way of doing things and disciplining myself enough to not just respond and react, allowed me to create a different type of mother daughter relationship, or relationship with my children, period. I am the mother of four children. Justice is my first child. And I am going to write a book for each one of them. And what my mothering experience was. I have the unique experience of my kids are very spread out. So now today, Justice is 20 years old, but I also have a kindergartner. Um, and then I have one that's a senior in high school, and I have one that's a sixth grader. And so I have the opportunity to experience kids at all different stages, all at the same time. And so who I am as a mom has evolved over time as I have grown up, as I have matured, as I have gained more knowledge. Um,
Beautifully articulated. Miss Doris, very well said. We salute you as a mother. How does the book help parents cultivate resilience and patience?
so we talk about that a lot in the book. And we talk about how do we speak to our kids. So number one, how do we role model resiliency? Do your children see you, you know, take a hit or take disappointment, and how do you cope and deal with it? But also, how do you share those type of things with them? I think sometimes we think we're protecting our children by not showing them, but we also may be protecting them from the lessons or the how to overcome. So I'm a big advocate for talking kids through things and letting them know what's going on, like having a high level of communication, sharing your mistakes. I share with my kids the things that haven't went good for me or the mistakes that I have made. Number one, so they know that I'm human. Number two, so they can look at my success, but they can see that it didn't come without failure and it didn't come without me making mistakes. And to rebuild, to cultivate their mind to understand that success is not absent of failure. It's a part of it.
It's a part of it, and you will learn from it, and you will become
Yeah.
better, excellent
But we
in
can't
the
hide everything
future.
as parents. We have to share that with them.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. So let's talk about raising socially conscious children. How does the book encourage parents to teach their children about fairness and equality?
Hmm. So that's a great question. I think in the book it's about the communication. It's about how do you role model and how do you communicate. I believe that certain things are taught and certain things are caught, meaning you teach them actively, but the things that they catch are the things that you do that you may not think you're teaching, but they caught on to it. Like they saw you do it. And so, again, how do you live your life? Do you treat people fairly? Do they see you apologize? I remember one time I got really kind of irate with someone at the Walmart and I
Hmm.
left and it bothered me the way I had behaved in front of my children. I took them back up there the next day. I looked for that person and I let them stand there as I apologized because it was important for me to let them see that yes, I was upset, I behaved poorly, but also I came back and I apologized. And I could have not did it in front of them, but it was important for me for them to see the full circle moment of I had the humility to go back. And so I'm hoping that by seeing their mom do that, that it helps them to do what's right. So I think if you want to raise socially conscious kids, again, you have to role model it and then you have to actively teach it.
Certainly. Be a role model to your kids, people. So, what role does self awareness play in being just and compassionate parent?
Self awareness is the foundation. It
Yes.
is the foundation. If you are aware of how you behave, how you impact others, how you manage your own emotions, then you are able to be intentional um, with showing, the compassion or the type of behaviors you want them to exhibit. But I believe self awareness is the foundation.
So, what role does communication play in raising compassionate and responsible children?
I would say it's like the engine that kind
That's
of
the
drives the
key.
car. It's like that
Yes.
vehicle that you need. Again, they see the nonverbal, like what you role model, but then they need the engagement of you communicating with them what's right and what's wrong. So communication is key. The more open and the more frequent, I think is the best. How often are you
Certainly.
talking to your children? How transparent are you being with your children?
Totally agree, Miss Doris. How does the book address difficult conversations about social issues with children?
Ooh. Um, Again, I kind of shoot from a very transparent place. In the book, we talk about race, and I'm an African woman, African American woman, and my daughter was going to school at the time in a predominantly white school, and got a really close relationship with a white young girl, same age, and the girl referred to her as being an Oreo, meaning that although she was black on the outside, she was like a white person inside. And my daughter responded, "I'm not an Oreo. We just have the same thing in common." And I think you have to equip your children to understand number one who they are and to be proud of who they are and how that contributes in the world, and help them to understand that we all are a lot more alike then we are different, and we don't have to focus on the differences. But because we are alike, or because we have something in common, it doesn't negate who I am as a person. And so it's about teaching that balance of self confidence, and then how does that, and how you show up in the world, how that impacts others. And so in the
Certainly.
book, again, it's a really good chapter in terms of identity and confidence. And I think that's important that we teach our kids so that they can navigate the world and understand that, yes, I am a Black person, but when I do certain things, that doesn't make me less of a Black person. It doesn't make me more of a white person. It's just that we do the same things.
Totally agree, Miss Doris. So, what would be your advice for those people out there want to bring their children succeed?
Um, I'm thinking of a lot of things, and I want to true it up or chunk it up to one of the biggest things. I think if you really, really want to raise successful children, you have to understand that they're a child for a certain portion of their life, but they're going to be an adult a lot longer. And so I think you have to, in their childhood, really think about what are the long term implications of some of the things that we're doing. If I want my child to be a strong leader, do I make them passive in childhood? Or if I want them to be a good decision maker, do I allow them to actually make decisions? And so it's challenging sometimes, but like right now, I encourage my kids to ask questions. I encourage them to challenge what they don't agree with. If they want to do something and I really don't want them, or I'm not in agreement, I may give them the opportunity. Hey, take about 30 minutes and come back to me and give me three reasons why I should change my mind. But I'm teaching them at a young age how to challenge professionally, how to critically think, how to be confident, and kind of how to stand their ground if they really believe in something, and we can have a conversation about it. And sometimes I move based off of like, man, that was pretty creative. They came up with that. And other times my no is my no. But I think I'm teaching them a more lasting lesson by, if you want them to be a certain way as an adult, you need to introduce some of those behaviors while they're still children. But you're not going to create have a passive child and then they're going to grow up to be this strong leader. Like you've taken all the leadership out of them. Like, so I just think you encourage the things that you want to see in adulthood. Start encouraging those things in childhood.
Certainly. Thank you for your advice, Miss Doris. And what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
Say that one more time. My short term and long term goals
Yes, in writing.
in writing. And so, short term goals, I would like to go ahead and publish. It's going to be my second slash third book. So I was going to publish a book this month, and I just was not satisfied with the way that the book was. And I kept thinking it over. And then the realization, I came to the realization that part of my issue with the book is that it was speaking to two different audiences. And so that it can be more impactful, I needed to break the book up. And so my second and third book will publish at the same time. And the book is called Pieces to Peace. It speaks to how I overcame corporate and COVID. It is a book that is designed to help leaders navigate, thrive, and heal from toxic work environments. Um, and I realized the other part of the conversation was for the people that created those type of environments. So not only will there be Pieces to Peace, how I overcame COVID, which is a memoir slash guide, there's also Pieces to Peace, the corporate spin. And that book is going to be for HR professionals and leaders in organizations to teach them how to create good, healthy work environments. And if they're experiencing toxicity in their environment, what they can do to eradicate that out of the workplace. So to be two books, both Pieces to Peace. One, how I overcame corporate and COVID. The other one, the corporate spin, in which I address the organizations to help them to overcome their toxic environments. So I'm excited about book two and three coming out. I have about eight or nine that I kind of have started. So there'll be a lot of work to come.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Doris, and looking forward for two books to come. You are most welcome to come back and let's talk about it on Book 101 review. So, how does the book explore the balance between nurturing and guiding children toward independence?
In one of the chapters, I talk about having to um, allow my daughter to make a decision that I didn't necessarily agree with. And so I think what readers would learn in the book is, again, how do we suspend judgment? How do we take a step back and allow our children to learn through their own experiences? And there is a balance to that, but most of it is we pause and we kind of suspend judgment and give things an opportunity to play out or see what our children are able to accomplish without us. But we're right there to help them when they do need us.
Certainly. So, Miss Doris, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, people. Fifth season, with Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letters senders all over the world. So please do listen, Food 101, wherever you listen your podcast. So, what is the key takeaway from rising or raising justice? And how can readers apply to their parenting journey?
Yeah. I think the key takeaway is the power of really love and patience in your parenting journey. Giving yourself grace. You will make mistakes along the way, and that's okay. But how do you love your way through them? How do you also give yourself, again, grace as you are parenting? They don't come with instruction manuals.
Yes.
And we have to give ourselves a lot of grace as we're trying to get it right.
There's no manual of parenting, people.
It isn't.
It's a trial and error. But through the books of Miss Doris Jackson, we will be a good parent in the future. So, Miss Doris Jackson-Shazier, thank you so much for sharing your book to the world. And we are looking for more and more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book? And of course, your upcoming books.
Yeah, thank you so much. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it.
Yes. So, where they can find your book?
Oh, my book is available on Amazon and also my website, which is my name, DorisJacksonShazier.com.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Doris Jackson-Shazier because if you support her, as I said, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Doris, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.